Good day, Toronto. Welcome to October 2017 Market Watch. This set may seem familiar because when the stats came out, we were shooting, so we might as well do two birds, one stone. See, if you guys see what I'm wearing right now, one would think I'm pretty stylish, but it's not because I chose this, it's because the fiance behind the camera chose this. Anyway, so October 2017 Market Watch. The big number you guys are going to be looking out for is the sales on average price is $775,000, okay? But here's the things you guys got to keep in mind. The volume of sales is down significantly, but the prices are still up. So you got to keep that in mind when we talk about the next few points, okay? The headlines you guys are all probably going to be seeing in the next few weeks are sales continue to drop down compared to last year. And you'll probably see the biggest headlines about the fact that sales are down 35%. Of course, all of this stuff is all BS for grabbing your attention. So let's be real and let's stop looking at year-over-year basis points because that makes no sense. When you're comparing last year's market in September to this year's market, it's a completely different market. It's a whole different animal. So why even bother? So here's some key takeaways from a month-to-month basis, and I'll put up the numbers right now for you guys can see as well, okay? So number one, the average price in Toronto is up $43,000 to $775K, okay? Which means that the value of a Toronto home is still very strong and prices haven't dropped that 20% that people keep saying that are in the headlines. Number two, this shocked me a lot. The amount of transaction that was supposed to be in September usually is higher than that of August. Here it is. There were literally 22 more sales in September at 6,380 than there were in August. That's it. So the kicker to all of that is in September, we got 5,000, that's 5,000 more listings or 33% more listings than we did in August, but the amount of sales are the same, which is kind of the weird thing that when you actually look at the numbers, and I'm going to explain what's going on in a little bit further. So when I look at these numbers, it tells me that despite that there are more options for buyers, the buyer confidence or the psychology is still rather weak right now, and a lot of them are sitting on the sidelines. And the odd thing is that even though there's so many options out there for buyers, you would think that the prices are going to come down because the sellers are competing with one another, but they're not. The prices are still up, and they're up from last month, which is kind of a conflicting thing that we usually see in trends, okay? So here's some observations that I'm seeing from the streets. A good detached home is still in high demand. We're seeing multiple offers on offer day, and they're still happening. And this isn't shocking because a good property is still gonna sell in a good area. And it's not shocking to me either that the average average price of a detached is now back at $1 million because it went up. Now, if you're in the 416 proper, you're still at like 1.35 mil, which is up 200 grand from last month. So although there are detaches sitting around, a good detached in a good area is still moving. And now we're gonna shift our attention to the condo market, which is crazy. It continues to be absurdly strong right now. And we're not talking about the price right now, we're just talking about the sales. Like all of the stuff in terms of pricing on a month-to-month basis, more or less the same, okay? Now we're gonna talk about something we called absorption rate, which I've talked about in the past, and if you're not familiar with it, it's the column in the stats, which you'll see right now called SNLR, which stands for sales to new listing ratio. This is basically a percentage that says how many of the new listings are actually sold in a month, and it's a pretty good understanding of how strong the market is without all the fluff attached to the percentages of how much sold and what the cost is. So technically in a balanced market, 50% is what it should be. If it's anything above, we're in a seller's market, and anything below, we're in a buyer's market. So let's look at the stats right now. We're gonna look at downtown Toronto, which is the CO1 and CO8 area, okay? So it's mostly condos here, and if you look at the absorption rate, it's almost 70%, which means condos are selling as they're being listed. Oh, and check this out. The average listing price is over 100%, which means that people are paying more than what the asking price is. This is a huge, huge indicator that the condo market is very strong right now. Also, just a sidebar, while we're looking at this stat right now that's on the screen, you'll see that the absorption rate is still roughly 60% in all of Toronto. So it's still a seller's market. So I don't know what these headlines are talking about when they're saying it's a buyer's market right now. It's still a seller's market, technically. Now, here's a little bonus for you guys. While we're on this graphic, you'll see that the number of condos that are sold are very high when you consider that there's only a few nodes of the city that actually have condos. And you'll also look at the price point in which people are buying them in. You'll see that the big ones are the 400 plus range, which is the 1 bedrooms or 1+1 in downtown Toronto, or the 1+1 and 2 bedrooms in the suburban downtowns I keep telling everyone about to not sleep on. So as an investor, this should be a key indicator of what you should be investing in and buying, especially since the condos can potentially cash flow much better right now. And it's very evident that the shift to affordability is real and happening very slowly. So I'll leave you with a summary of what's happening on the market from my perspective right now. You should not look at the real estate market from average stats, as each segment, each neighborhood is completely different right now. And overall, the buyer psychology is still very soft, but a good property in a good area is still gonna sell. I'll see you guys next time. A number of condos that are sold and are very, very, what? Oh, okay.